This video is about a weapon, something that has existed for thousands of years, dating back to 3300 BC. I am talking about swords. What the hell's with the accent? A bladed weapon crafted for cutting, slicing, dissecting, and carving. Swords, the pinnacle of power. They are an icon for justice. They are a symbol of bravery. Yet, my favorite type of sword isn't a puny dagger or a knife. It's not the average length bladed cutlass, backsword, saber. The sword I idolize, I desire the most, is one that is taller than any man, sturdier than a rapier, with the weight of it striking fear into the person who's on the receiving end. The one I desire the most, a claymore, a longsword, a great sword, for lack of a better word, pardon my profanity, a massive fucking sword. What I mean by big sword is something that is so massive you need two hands to wield it. Or one if you're strong enough, but that's the gist. Now, what was the first recorded longsword? Where did it come from? The first known sword classified as a BFS came from the late 13th century, ranging from the years of 1250 to 1350. Again with this axe. While evidence of the first wielder is a blur, one name stood out. Ottokar II, King of Bohemia, who wielded a blade that stood 141 centimeters tall. Although the hilt is missing, the length of this sword is not to be taken lightly. Not only was his sword massive, but Ottokar's life was taken by Rudolf of Habsburg. He opposed him with another massive blade of his own, standing as tall as the former king. Later in history, the Swiss and the Germans began to adopt such a weapon into their arsenal. This extravagant weapon was given a chance to be recognized when the late... Hold on, wait a minute. Let me get this right. Rainier de Valkenburg had such a weapon featured on his gravestone. By this time, the Germans coined the name Zweinhänder to describe such a weapon, roughly translating to two-handed or double-handed. This sword features a guard above the hilt, pairing hook and blade support. Although the Germans favored this weapon, other countries attempted to replicate such elegance. The Scottish claymore, the lowland sword, the English greatsword, the Italian spadone, and I can't forget the Japanese with their odachi sword. Now then, let's take a look at some examples of swords wielded by powerful warriors. I'll start with the non-fiction side of things because it is rather interesting to know the warlords who held such a weapon. And I gotta stop with this fucking voice. Pierre Gerloff Donia, better known as Great Peter, was a Frisian rebel leader, given the nickname of Guter Pierre due to his superhuman size, strength. Now, Pierre was a former farmer who didn't plan on including himself in this little rebellion. This changed when his hometown was attacked and his wife was murdered. Filled with rage, he and a group of pirates waged war against the Habsburg. After researching, I will say there is a lot of speculation about his actual sword. For the sake of the video, I'm running with what people have been told. This sword, named Bidenenda, is a 7-foot long behemoth, weighing about 15 pounds. It is important to note that this gigantic weapon of death is a ceremonial bearing sword. Its sole purpose is for decoration and nothing more. Ignoring the facts and evidence, let's assume that this was his sword. This farmhand was chopping off heads with 15 pounds of steel, 15 pounds of metal. In the 16th century, such a feat was unheard of. It was inhuman. As insane as this sounds, there's more. Apparently, during his crusade against the Dutch, he created a phrase to see if they were pure-blooded Frisian. Here is my attempt. Bitter Bren Englintis. If you can pronounce this sentence in Frisian, you're good. If not, death. Now, here's another interesting piece of trivia. The Germans were terrorizing 16th century Europe with their own mercenaries. Now, what's more horrifying than one man with a massive sword? Try 20. The group, Dalpan Sultna, was the cream of the crop. They were the elites on the battlefield. While they were equipped with arquebuses to mow down the field, the real manpower came from the Schweinhunde. Such a massive blade was perfect for retaliating against the Swiss pikemen, who were the definition of the word menace. Another fact. They were called Dalpan Sultner because they would only risk their lives and go on extreme campaigns if they were paid extra. This is where it gets murky because when it comes to wielders of the great Odachi sword, not a lot of samurai took this sword into combat. Akin to Pier's sword, the Odachi was used as a ceremonial piece. They were used during the Muromachi period, but after the siege of Osaka, this mighty blade was outlawed and restricted for combat use. Yet there was one man who did wield this sword, named Megara Naotaka. Standing at 6'10", this big man needed a sword that could match his strength. That sword was given the name Taro Tachi. This weapon was rumored to be 288 centimeters long. I saw several rumors from several different sources. The only consistent thing about these articles is that the sword is over 200 centimeters long. A sword this massive. It had to serve a point besides a violent exit. It did. It was used against the cavalries during the Sengoku period. I need to stop talking like this. Ow. Well, enough of the history lessons. Let's talk about pop culture. We're used to swordsmen in films, games, books to wield something realistic. What I'm saying is they always fight with blades that are manageable, that can be used with one hand, you know. Something quick and efficient. Yet there's always swordsmen who wield something so obtuse, it doesn't even seem logical. I shouldn't believe it, I shouldn't now. Yet these fictional heroes are worthy of such a weapon. I do believe that these swordsmen, that I will discuss, are capable of wielding a destructive weapon. So let's get into that before my voice gives out again. Conan the Barbarian, the iconic sword hero created by the late Robert E. Howard. The warrior Conan embarks on heroic adventures, sometimes to enact revenge or to save the typical damsel in distress. We've seen numerous versions of Conan from comics, games, and movies. Throughout these adaptations, one important detail is crucial to his character: the Atlantean sword. Alright, look, now in the actual novel by Robert E. Howard. He was never specific about the sword Conan used. It was the film adaptation by John Milius that introduced this iconic blade. My throat hurts, so I'm just gonna talk like this. Admittedly, this sword is average on the spectrum, coming in at 39 inches with a blade length of 29 inches. I, however, feel ever so inclined to at least mention it, considering that this is the starting point. So we'll use that sword as the starting point. I will point out that that sword itself looks hefty in the hands of the average male. It looks like there's more weight to it, and a tad bit taller in comparison. Let's up the ante. The mountain himself, Gregor Clegane. I'll get this out of the way. I won't act like I've watched or read Game of Thrones, but I recognize a big sword when I see one. This giant wields a great sword standing at 64 inches tall. That's female height. Depending on whether if you go off the novel or HBO canon, Gregor is 7 or 8 foot tall, weighing about 420 pounds. Now imagine that same guy swinging a sword that size into a crowded area. Limbs would be flying. If you're on the receiving end, you'd be dead. Attempts at blocking will leave you with broken bones and bruises. So respectfully, accept your demise. Well, that was it for television. Now Now I know what you're thinking. It's going to be the Dragon Slayer, isn't it? Well, the problem with the Dragon Slayer is that there are no official metrics. Not to mention, it's a massive slab of iron. So instead, I want to shine light on another sword wielded by Guts. The Hawk Raider. Contradicting myself momentarily, the Hawk Raider doesn't have any official metrics either. I still feel inclined to mention it. Simply put, it's the most consistently sized sword. Going off of fan speculations, I can conclude that the Hawk Raider is roughly 6.5 feet long, give or take. The blade is roughly 59 inches and the handle is roughly 18 inches. I must reiterate, there are no official measurements. These are all educated guesses. I've seen people say it's 7 feet, but regardless, it's a massive sword. If you have viewed Berserk in any sort of fashion, you know the Hawk Raider doesn't slack. Now that we discussed the Black Swordsman, it's time we discuss another Black Swordsman who's actually black. Oh boy, Afro Samurai, I have the home field advantage. I'll take it from here. Don't worry about the sword bit.
Now, I don't collect swords, okay? This was a gift. Anyway, the average katana, I mean, yeah, look at it. It's just a simple, blade web. This isn't really sharp. It's pointy. It's pointy, but it's not really sharp. The guard is more like a rounded off, whatever. Afro Samurai sword, however, is not a katana. It's more of a tachi sword. Now, just for comparison, it looks a bit, mind the cloth is for protection. It's a bit, I mean, the guard here is more bigger in the anime, but for what it is nice. The blade itself is like, this is not your average katana. This is very sharp. I need to be fucking careful. And if you compare the two from this to this, it's like, you can clearly see this one's more longer. I can't really tell. I can't really show you the justice wise, but it's quite fucking. Hold on, maybe this angle's better. Yeah, it's rather big. And the performance, I don't think, just watch Afro Samurai. The shit he does with this sword, Just fucking watch it. All right, just fucking watch it.
Now that I touched on some manga, it's time for video games. No, I don't, nor did I play Final Fantasy. And I don't like RPGs of any variant. However, the Buster Sword is worth talking about. Now, Cloud himself looks like a twig you'd find on the ground, yet he wields this behemoth, so he gets a pass. The Buster Sword itself is roughly 6 feet tall, with a 48-inch blade, and it's properly thick, around 12 inches. Scrubbing the internet for official weight of this sword, well, if you were to base it on logic, the sword itself would be around 440 pounds of steel. And I'm supposed to believe that this Twizzler can handle it with ease? Sure, man. Go ahead. I don't want any trouble. Now, I'm a little bummed that I couldn't add the Dragon Slayer. Look, it's inconsistent. It's not my fault. However, there is a franchise that takes inspiration from Berserk. I'll use that. I'm talking about Souls-like games from software. Whatever. The Great Sword, or the Ultra Great Sword, is Dark Souls' rendition of the Dragon Slayer, and the best part, it's consistent. I'll be using the Great Sword from Elden Ring because I like how that one looks. The length of this beast is around 190 centimeters, or 6'2". Wielding a sword like this requires a strength level of 21. This is for two-handed use. You need to be a level 31 to swing it around with one hand. No, I don't play these Souls-like games, so I don't know the actual weight of it. Regardless, being able to swing this heap of iron with one hand, you don't want to be at the end of the tarnish when they're swinging this thing.
No, hold on, wait a minute. You said you want to use Elden Ring as an example, but you're using Dark Souls 2 footage? Okay, so how are you playing Dark Souls 2? Get out.
Alright. I need to pad out this video a little more. So one more. Fuck you. Now, admittedly, the Bloodberry Katana shouldn't count. Simply put, the Bloodberry is not a literal sword. Then I remembered that this is my video. The Bloodberry in a neutral state is 16.1 inches. When it's activated, it extends to 54.4 inches. I give that about long greatsword height. Now, seeing how Travis moves throughout the whole No More Heroes franchise, standing in his way would be moronic. It would be foolish. It would cost you your life. And, importantly, I don't got none, that's it. Moral of the story. Whether it's a long sword, a great sword, a Sfyenda, an Odachi blade, a claymore, a sword that's a slab of metal created by demons, or a lightsaber knockoff, just remember: big sword.